Greetings, friends. Welcome back to the broadcast. I'm Shawn. It's our, or at least my, favorite time of the week, and that is to start our week with wisdom and encouragement from the Psalms and from the Proverbs, and we're also reading the words of Solomon, wisdom of Solomon, in addition to that. Today's Psalm 33, we're also reading Proverbs, let's see, it's the very last proverb, actually, Proverb 31, so that'll be getting started over fairly soon. So Psalm 33, Proverbs 31, and the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2. Psalm 33 has an interesting ending here that just really jumps out to me, and it's this idea that the Lord's eyes are upon them, and His grace and His mercy is upon them who actually fear Him and trust Him. And not just when things are good, but even in the midst of famine, they trust that the Lord will feed them. These are the type that bring pleasure to God. Let me just read you the end of Psalm 33 real quick, and then we'll read the whole thing, but I just want you to be thinking about this. So if we start with verse 17, it says, "A horse is a vain thing for safety, neither shall he deliver any by his great strength." I'm going to talk more about that when we get to it here in a minute, when we do the whole reading. "Behold, the eye of the Lord is upon them that fear Him, upon them that hope in His mercy, to deliver their soul from death, and to keep them alive in famine." So with that, be thinking about that. How much do I really trust God? Let's read Psalm 33, King James Bible, verse 1. "Rejoice in the Lord, O ye righteous, for praise is comely for the upright. Praise the Lord with a harp, sing unto Him with a psaltery and an instrument of 10 strings. Sing unto Him a new song. Play skillfully with a loud noise. For the word of the Lord is right, and all His works are done in truth. He loveth righteousness and judgment. The earth is full of the goodness of the Lord. By the word of the Lord were the heavens made, and all the host of them by the breath of His mouth. He gathereth the waters of the sea together as a heap, and layeth up the depth in storehouses. Let all the earth fear the Lord. Let all the inhabitants of the world stand in awe of Him. For He spake, and it was done. He commanded, and it stood fast. The Lord bringeth the counsel of the heathen to naught. He maketh the devices of the people of none effect. The counsel of the Lord standeth forever, the thoughts of His heart to all generations. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord of the people, whom He hath chosen for His own inheritance. The Lord looketh from heaven, He beholdeth all the sons of men. From the place of His habitation He looketh upon all the inhabitants of the earth. He fashioned their hearts alike, He considereth all their works. There is no king saved by a multitude of a host. A mighty man is not delivered by such strength. A horse is a vain thing for safety, neither shall he deliver any by his great strength. Behold, the eye of the Lord is upon them that fear Him, upon them that hope in His mercy, to deliver their soul from death, and to keep them alive in famine. Our soul waiteth for the Lord. He is our help and our shield. For our hearts shall rejoice in him, because we have trusted in his holy name. Let thy mercy, O Lord, be upon us, according as we hope in thee. So that is Psalm 33. He says, there's no king saved by a multitude of a host. A mighty man is not delivered by much strength, and a horse is a vain thing for safety. Neither shall he deliver any by his great strength. So there's this idea, some hope in horses and some hope in chariots, right? And this is how the world thinks. And even some who claim to be Christian, they still put their hopes in their own wisdom, hope in their own ability, their own wealth. I think about the bunker people, right? The world's going to burn, so we're going to use these resources that we have, this wealth that we have, and we're going to build ourselves a bunker. Or even the elite are buying up farmland. They're buying up land in remote places in Hawaii and areas like that, where they think they're gonna somehow ride out the apocalypse. They're gonna ride out the season that is to come upon the earth. But in the book of Revelation, when we look at Revelation chapter 6 as an example, they're hiding themselves in the rocks, in the mountains. But there's no hiding. They're crying for the rocks to fall on them and cover them up, because there's no hiding from the face of the Lamb. There's no hiding from his wrath. The people that survive these circumstances are those who fear God, but also genuinely hope in his mercy that he will deliver their soul from death and keep them alive in the famine. Our soul waiteth for the Lord. He is our help and our shield. So the question that we all need to ask is, where is our trust really? Where is our hope really? Do we really believe that he will protect, provide? Do we actually fear him and look for his mercy when things get hard? Let's move on and read our Proverbs for today. Proverbs 31. Verse 1. The words of King Lemuel, the prophecy that his mother taught him. What, my son? And what the sons of my womb? And what the sons of my vows? Give not thy strength unto women, nor thy ways to that which destroyeth kings. Is it not for kings, O Lemuel? It is not for kings to drink wine, nor for princes strong drink, lest they drink and forget the law, and pervert the judgment of any of the afflicted. Give strong drink unto him that is ready to perish, and wine unto those that be of heavy hearts. Let him drink, and forget his poverty, and remember his misery no more. Open thy mouth for the dumb, and the cause of all such are appointed to destruction. Open thy mouth, judge righteously, and plead the cause of the poor and needy. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of his life. She seeketh wool and flax, and worketh willingly with her hands. She is like the merchant ships, she bringeth her food from afar. She rises also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household, and a portion to her maidens. She considereth a field, and buyeth it with the fruit of her hands, and she planteth a vineyard. She girdeth her loins with strength, and strengtheneth her arms. She perceiveth that her merchandise is good, her candle goeth not out by night. She layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the staff. She stretches out her hand to the poor, yea, she reaches forth her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. She maketh herself coverings of tapestry, her clothing is silk and purple. Her husband is known in the gates, and when he sitteth among the elders of the land. She maketh fine linen, and selleth it, and delivereth girdles unto the merchants. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in the time to come. She opened her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellent them all. Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. And that is Psalm 31, also known as Proverbs 31, also known as the proverb about the virtuous woman. If there's a generation of women who've ever needed to learn what the truth is about what it means to be a woman, a virtuous one, it's this generation. But this generation, unfortunately, would find this description of a woman incredibly offensive, which just goes forth to make the point. I tremble for the young men right now, and honestly, all young people, because the young women are no longer virtuous, but the young men are no longer strong. They're cowardice. So we just have a whole mess on our hands. And the young woman who's looking for a strong, godly man is going to have some slim pickings. But additionally, nowadays, the young man who's seeking a woman who's actually virtuous, who actually loves God, who has the attributes described here in Proverbs 31, that is going to be a tough ask. That's going to be tough to find. More so than maybe any other generation in modern history. And that is just reality, folks. That is just the situation we are in with our culture. But just another thing, if you're a young person out there, a young woman or a young man, and you're coming to terms with the reality of what I just said is something that you've been doing, and you're disheartened by that, just pray. Pray to the one who can provide these things, who can orchestrate these things. He knows who the virtuous women are. He knows who the strong, courageous, virtuous, godly men are. You have to be willing to be patient. Much harder said, or much harder done than said, right? All right, let's move on. Last reading here, the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2. Open up your hearts. Let's see what it has to say for us this morning. For they reasoned unsoundly, saying to themselves, "Short and sorrowful is our life, and there is no remedy when a man comes to his end. And no one has been known to return from Hades. Because we were born by mere chance, and hereafter shall be as though we had never been. because the breath in our nostrils is smoke, and reason is a spark kindled by the beating of our hearts. When it is extinguished, the body will turn to ashes, and the spirit will dissolve like empty air. Our name will be forgotten in time, and no one will remember our works. Our life will pass away like the traces of a cloud, and be scattered like mist that is chased by the rays of the sun, and overcome by its heat. For our allotted time is the passing of a shadow, and there is no return from our death, because it is sealed up and no one turns back. Come therefore, let us enjoy the good things that exist, and make use of the creation to the full as in youth. Let us take our fill of costly wine and perfumes, and let no flower of spring pass by us. Let us crown ourselves with rosebuds before they wither. Let none of us fail to share in our revelry. Everywhere let us leave signs of enjoyment, because this is our portion, and this is our lot. Let us oppress the righteous poor man. Let us not spare the widow, nor regard the gray hairs of the aged. But let our might be our law of right. For what is weak proves itself to be useless. Let us lie wait for the righteous man, because he is inconvenient to us and opposes our actions. He reproaches us for sins against the law and accuses us of sins against our training. He professes to have knowledge of God and calls himself a child of the Lord. He became to us a reproof of our thoughts. The very sight of him is a burden to us, because his manner of life is unlike that of others, and his ways are strange. We are considered by him as something base, and he avoids our ways as unclean. He calls the last end of the righteous happy, and boasts that God is his Father. Let us see if his words are true, and let us test what will happen at the end of his life. For if the righteous man is God's son, he will help him, and he will deliver him from the hand of adversities, or the hand of adversaries. Let us test him with an insult and torture, that we may find out how gentle he is, and make trial of his forbearance. Let us condemn him to a shameful death, for according to what he says, he will be protected. Thus they reasoned, but they were led astray, for their wickedness blinded them, and they did not know the secret purposes of God, nor hope for the wages of holiness, nor discern the prize for blameless souls. For God created man for incorruption, and made him in the image of his own eternity. But through the devil's envy, death entered the world, and those who belonged to his party experienced it. So that is the Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2, but it's unless you've read through it, you don't realize at first that it's really talking from the perspective of the wicked. Right? They're like, hey, life is so short, we just need to grab everything that we can and indulge in everything that we can. Right? That's how the first part goes away. They're acknowledging that life passes away like a vapor. But listen to what they think. They think that when the body turns to ashes, that their spirit just dissolves like empty air. There's nothing being left behind. There's no purpose. They say, for our allotted time is like a passing of a shadow. There's no return from our death. So as a result of that, they say, come, let us enjoy the good things that exist and make use of the creation to the full as in youth. Let us make our fill of costly wines and perfumes, and let no flower of the spring pass us by. Like, we gotta get the most that we can out of this. Let us crown ourselves with rosebud before they wither. Let none of us fail to share in our revelry. Everywhere let us leave signs of enjoyment, And then he says, let us oppress the righteous poor man. Let us spare the widow not, nor regard the gray hairs of the aged. So we're going to oppress the poor. We're not going to care about the widow. We're not going to care about the old people. They're useless now, right? But let our might be our law of right. For what is weak proves itself to be useless. So this is their mindset. Doesn't that sound familiar to the world you're living in? Well, guess what? There's nothing new under the sun. It's always been this way. God's people have always been a strange people that stand out to the rest of the world. Why are we so surprised here in the West? Yes, our whole nation's been given over to paganism. Actually, the whole Western civilization has moved towards paganism and Satan worship. You are a peculiar people. This is not your home. You're just a sojourner. Your mission is to serve God and trust God and share the good news. Do you have the patience to listen to me read the second half of this one more time? Verses 12 through 24, 12 verses. Listen to what they say about the righteous person, the God-fearer. Let us lie in wait for the righteous man, because he is inconvenient to us and opposes our actions. He reproaches us for sins against the law and accuses us of sins against our training. He professes to have knowledge of God and calls himself a child of the Lord. He became to us a reproof of our thoughts. The very sight of him is a burden to us, because his manner of life is unlike that of others, and his ways are strange. We are considered by him as something base, and he avoids our ways as unclean. He calls the last end of the righteous happy, and boasts that God is his Father. Please note, see the contrast. They say we die and our soul just turns to vapor. But the righteous man, he's happy about the end, because he believes he's a child of God. He believes there's something else. He looks at our ways and avoids them as if they're unclean. This is one of the things I keep harping on and complaining about on this podcast, is so many Christians act and live just like the rest of the world. They can't look at the world cannot look at them and look at their lifestyle and think, that person's different. That person serves God. They avoid our way of life. They avoid the type of language that we use. They avoid drinking and doing all these things. They avoid watching and streaming the perversion on the TV. Like there's something different about them. Is that what the world would say about you? Would they be talking about you in this manner? He avoids our ways as unclean. A few more verses here. Let us see if his words are true. Let us test what will happen at the end of his life. For if the righteous man is God's son, he will help him and will deliver him from the hand of his adversaries. Let us test him with insult and torture, that we may find out how gentle he is and make trial of his forbearance. Let us condemn him to a shameful death, for according to what he says, he will be protected. Thus they reasoned, but they were led astray, for their wickedness blinded them. And they did not know the secret purposes of God, nor hope in the wages of holiness, nor discern the prize for blameless souls. For God created man for incorruption, and made him in the image of his own eternity. But through the devil's envy, death entered the world. And those who belong to his party experience it. That, my friends, is the end of our wisdom and encouragement for this week. I pray you've been blessed and strengthened. I pray these words have went forth and pierced your hearts and causes you to draw closer to God. Thank you for praying for me and for the podcast, and for those of you who support this mission of truth. It's more than I deserve, and I'm super grateful. All right. Thanks for listening. Peace and grace be with all of you. And until next time, God bless.